We are live from the AT&T studios in New York City. I'm Josh Mora, the Executive Director of Strategic Partnerships at Full Sail University. We are streaming this to the entire world, but maybe most importantly for us, we are streaming this back to all of you at Full Sail Live who are watching in Winter Park, Florida. I know you've got a great atmosphere there, and Tracy Wu is there live. Tracy, tell us what the atmosphere is like at Full Sail Live and how the students are and our faculty and staff are preparing for this announcement today.
Hey Josh, great to see you and hear from you. Everyone is pretty excited over here, right guys? Yeah? There's a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement. We are so excited to be able to talk to you guys in New York. It's like bringing everything together. It's amazing what technology can do these days. And yeah, what's the buzz up there in New York? You guys having a good time?
Yeah. We're having a terrific time. We had a terrific time last night. We had a room full of people here at the studios where we made the announcement formal. And of course, what the announcement is, we shouldn't wait any longer. But launching at the end of January, we have the latest degree program at Full Sail University. It is Full Sail University's Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. It's going to be a bachelor's degree, so we're really excited to be opening that up to our entire community. And, maybe the first thing we should do is give everybody a little taste of what this program is going to be about.
I can't tell you how many times in my career somebody will ask me, how do I get into your business? How do I become a sportscaster? The first thing I ask is, what have you done? Do you have any experience? And the answer is normally nothing yet. It's because they couldn't find a program that provided the real-world experience that you need to get started. So I set out to create a program designed for the next wave of sportscasting talent. And my partner was an obvious one, Full Sail University. Great track record in entertainment and media, great alumni group, and the ability to evolve as the industry changes. We're offering a bachelor's degree that combines the professional expertise that my fellow sportscasters and I have built our careers on with the technologies shaping the world of sports. To succeed in this business, you have to be ready for what's next. But the core of great sportscasting I don't think will ever change. And this program brings it all together.
So I hope that has everybody in the room excited. Tracy, what's the reaction there?
There's a lot of giggling over here, but yes, are we excited or what? A little sneak peek of Dan Patrick. I mean, what more do we need, really?
Well, we're gonna talk to Dan in just a second. A little bit about what went on last night. We had a room full of industry titans, other talent that's going to be a part of this program. We had friends and family of Dan, friends and family of our new program director, Gus Ramsey. We're going to talk to him in a minute as well. And of course, we had friends and family and alumni of Full Sail as we made this announcement. And there were some wonderful moments in the room. And I think now let's have some wonderful moments here this afternoon. And let's bring in Dan Patrick. He is the namesake of this degree program, and Dan is going to join us and sit down with us right here. And there's applause. You can't hear it because I have the IFB and you don't.
Thank you.
But I think, Dan, first of all, tell us what, from your perspective, this degree is going to be about.
I want to have a pipeline, maybe a minor league system franchise where we're sending kids to the majors. We're sending them into the pros to have a job when they get out of school. And I found with a lot of these students, you'd go to college and then you would get out with your degree and you go, now what do I do? Well, in this business, with what we're teaching with radio, TV, podcast, we want you to be ready to go with the experience when you get out. You'll know exactly what you're getting into. It's not just my experience. The person who will be leading this at Full Sail is Gus Ramsey. He spent over 20 years at ESPN. He dealt with these students when they came in. What they need to know, when they need to know it. If you want to be on camera, you want to be behind the camera, you want to do radio, you want to do podcast, whatever it is, we're going to have this. This is a program in full. You're going to be ready to go. You won't be ill-prepared. You're going to be over-prepared to go into the marketplace. It'll be up to you once you get there, but our job is to prepare you and then help you get the job. There's nobody else who's doing this, and that's why Full Sail said, come on in, we'll embrace this, and I couldn't have a better partner.
And it's not just, and we feel the same way, we couldn't have a better partner either. It's not just for the kinds of jobs that you worked your way through over the last 30 plus years. It's for what's coming in
Yes.
the 21st century. How is that different?
Well, I think that you have to evolve because the marketplace is evolving. The way TV was when I was first getting in 35 years ago is completely different now. There's so many different avenues to get in. YouTube is playing a role here. You want to have your own channel. You want to have a podcast. Do you want to be on regular radio, terrestrial radio? Do you want to be on satellite radio? We're going to give you the opportunity to even do radio live on Sirius. We have a relationship there that will give some students the opportunity to be able to do a program and understand what it's like to do a half-hour sports talk show, to be in front of the camera. And it's not just where if you went to a regular college, you may get that chance once every 3 weeks. Once every month, you get a chance to read the news. This is the repetitions that you want. You want to have that. Full Sail is allowing us to do that. And the student is the one who benefits because now they have that experience. You have a tape that you can look at. You'll have somebody look at that tape. Students will have my email address. I will review some of these tapes. So there will be interaction. I'll be on campus 4 different times during the year. There'll be webinars. So it's not something where I just affix my name to it like a restaurant and then I move on. This is the restaurant. And we're helping to cook and serve and clean up.
That's good. Do you have a favorite dish? No, we'll move on past that. Well, how did you learn that stuff when you were coming up, and how do you think we'll be teaching that specifically to give them these skill sets?
I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And I went to a college, a great college, University of Dayton. I was on the campus radio station, but I thought if you graduated, you just got a job. My first job was running religious tapes on Saturday night to Sunday morning. So it was 9 hours where I would just put on a tape, and the only time I got to talk is you're listening to WTUE, Dayton's Best Rock and Roll, and then I would go into a religious tape. And then I would sit there letting the gospel wash over me, and it would get to like 1:58, and I'd go, you're listening to Dayton's Best Rock and Roll, WTUE, and I'd put on another tape. I was on the radio getting paid, but it wasn't a great job. I was mowing greens at a golf course at the same time. Those were the jobs that I had. I had a degree, but I had no place to go with it. I had no experience.
Yeah.
We want you to have the experience where you can say to a TV news director or a radio programmer, here, and that's what they want.
Yeah.
We want it so those people are going to reach out to us and say, we're looking for this. You know, Bill Simmons, great writer, and Bill does a podcast on The Ringer, and he was talking to Gus Ramsey, who's going to head up the program. He was just talking about hiring a producer to do a podcast and how valuable they are. These are things that people don't think about. But for us to understand the entire marketplace of what people want to do, can do, and where we're headed, and the fact that Full Sail will give us that elasticity that we can expand when we need to, change when we need to, add a class, subtract a class, and we'll have the best faculty here in teaching you. And people in the marketplace now. Last night, Sage Steele, Jay Harris, Jeremy Schaap from ESPN came by. They want to be involved in it. I'm hearing from people that I worked with years ago who say, I get what you're doing. Where was this before? That's what's fun. We're on the cutting edge of doing something no one's ever done before, and the student is the one who benefits.
You mentioned Sage and Jeremy and Bill Simmons. All of them are going to be a part of
Yes.
this. In addition to the full-time faculty
Yes.
that Gus will bring in, we will have these people as guest faculty. What does that mean for the student that they're going to be hearing from people who have had different pathways and have had different roles in the industry?
I think that's the key is the question I get. It's the number one question, how do I get in the business? So now I've got Sage Steele, who got into the business different than I did, or Kevin Nagandi, or Jeremy Schaap. You're getting those stories, so they'll help you understand it's not a direct path. We're helping you have a more direct path. So the GPS of what we're providing is something that gets you there quicker and in the right direction. We were sort of, going Route 66 all through the country. We had no idea what we were doing. What we're doing now is, this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is where we're going to guide you towards. Hearing those stories will help you understand. Even with that, you may turn down a job. Jeremy Schaap said to me something last night. and he's been at ESPN for 25 years and a great reporter. He said, I almost took a job and it was the wrong job because it wasn't what he wanted to do. Those are the things that we can provide guidance for you. And it's not, once you get into the marketplace, the relationship doesn't stop. It continues because we want that to be an umbilical cord where we're attached to you and vice versa. We want you to get the next job after that. And then you let us know when somebody might have an opening or somebody could get hired there. You're looking out for us as well. So it's not, we let you go and then bring in the next class, that class, and then that class in front of them, that we're all connected.
Yeah. A final thought here, and then we'll bring you back up for some audience questions later. This means a lot to you, doesn't it?
Oh, gosh. Don't get me, he's going to try to get me to cry. I did a pretty good job last night about it. My name's on it.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how powerful that is, how important that is, that it's not I'm part of something. I used to work at ESPN for 18 years. Well, it was ESPN. This is Dan Patrick's School of Sportscasting. It's on me.
Yeah.
I want you to be proud of your degree. I want you to know that we're in it with you. It's not something where I go, hey, I got this little side job here. My resources will be put into it, my experience, the people I know and trust. You know, it's something where I wear it on my sleeve, you know, and that's, but it should be. That's the way it's supposed to be. If you're buying into what I'm selling, I want to make sure that I'm selling the right thing to you. And that is something that is not matched in this industry right now. We're ahead of the curve, and I'm proud of that, and I can't wait to get started.
Well, we can't wait to get started with you. It's been really fun getting it to this point, and we look forward to evolving it with you and with Gus down the road. And we'll bring you back up here for some audience questions in a few minutes.
Okay. Thank you, buddy.
Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's, at this point, excuse Dan, and we're going to bring up your favorite person and mine, Dr. Gary Jones, to talk about this a little bit from the full sale perspective. Come on. You can come on, Gary. And we can applaud for Gary as well. I'm sure they are. We are here in the room, and Gary's applauding for everybody else, as he always does. I think, Gary, when our students and staff and faculty and community in Winter Park hears Dan speaking in that way about what this program is going to be, it makes sense why it aligns and why it's made sense to you from the beginning.
Absolutely right, Josh. And I'd like to start by saying I'm not bitter that no one would give me my own little earpiece for this so I could hear you guys, and I'm sorry I can't hear you. That said, man, did we have a good time last night, didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh, the press was here, the sports media folks. It was just a wonderful night with so much enthusiasm about what Dan is doing, and just across the board, everybody I spoke to was excited, and there are people lining up, significant people in this industry, that were saying, I'd love to be a part, telling Dan that they want to come down and be guest lecturers. It was just quite a wonderful night for all of us last night. My buddies back at Full Sail, this is yet another incredible adventure for all of us. And this one is amazing. Like so many of the past degree programs and the current, as you all are participating, and so many of you are right now, they're magnificent educational opportunities. This is going to be another one that's powerful and real and very market-focused and job-focused. I was sharing last night a couple of stories with our guests that I'd like to repeat for you because I think it's something you need to hear and would enjoy hearing. Dan said it very thoroughly and very eloquently just now, coming to you from this very same seat. This is his passion. This degree program is something that means the world to him. And I want to give you two takeaways that I had in my heart and in my pocket, if you will, walking into the event last night here in New York City. I recalled the first time Dan toured our campus over a year ago now, when we were just starting to think about this whole notion of a Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. And when we walked him, and Josh and I walked him into two different classrooms to talk to some of you, students that were currently going to school then, he graciously agreed to do Q&A. And what I witnessed, I mean, we all know Dan Patrick and his celebrity and his intelligence and his reputation in this industry of sportscasting. And, not but, and what I got to see that day in the classrooms was nothing short of majestic. Students asked him questions, and he did so much more than provide an answer to their questions. He took them on a journey and helped them explore things around that question that many of the students hadn't even thought about. So his answers posed questions back and drew more into the subject matter even than the student originally expected to get back. And so that was the moment where I realized this man is a magnificent mentor. You know, beyond the powerful words we just heard him say, he's a magnificent mentor, and he is an outrageously good teacher, just a phenomenal teacher. How's my time, Josh?
You're doing great.
Okay. So the second thing I'll share with you, and this will be my last anecdotal story. The second thing I'll share is when we finalized our deal, everything it took us to get us to the point where now we're moving towards launching this degree in late January of 2018. We were sitting at dinner, and at the end of dinner, the mood was wonderful. There's 14 to 16 of us, some Full Sail, some of the good people from Playbook, Reed Bergman and his team that are behind this whole adventure too. Dan asked for a moment, much in the way you would by tapping a glass with your fork to make a toast. He asked for a moment with all of us at the table. And he said some really powerful words that have resonated with me, that really epitomized, in my mind, the spirit and the heart of all that is Full Sail University. He said, Gary, we can't let this go to sleep. We can't go to sleep on this after we've launched this program. You know, you and I have to stand together and really focus on what the only thing that matters is, and that is jobs. It's students that are entering the workforce that know what they're doing, know what they want to do, they're focused and they're ready. And it has to culminate in jobs and careers that they love. That is the measure of success, and really the only one in what we're doing here. My friends back in Orlando and in the world who's watching this, what better thing, what better statement could a student hope for and expect out of their university, their degree program, their teachers, and in this case, a man who is a hero and a celebrity and a mentor to so many in the world of sports and sportscasting. So I and we walk into this relationship in just such a magnificent place of heart and expectation and thrill, actually, about what the future holds for this new degree program. I'm really proud to be aligned with Dan Patrick. And now, do I get the pleasure?
You do.
I get the pleasure of introducing you to Gus Ramsey. Dan talked about him in his remarks just moments ago. I had the pleasure of traveling to New York with Gus, as well as having a few dinners with him in the past as he arrived with our teachers, our faculty at Full Sail. As the program director of this new sportscasting degree, Gus, oh my gosh, Dan picked an amazing man that's so right for the job. Welcome your new buddy, Gus Ramsey. They're applauding, Gus. I can hear it from here.
Thank you, sir.
So Gus is going to be the person who will be the program director for the Full Sail University Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting, and obviously you and Dan go way back. And you know, the moment I first met you, and I think the moment everybody on campus who has met you understands why you fit this so perfectly. So, how do we teach this in a way that is different from anything? What makes the program different from what's out there?
I think what makes the program different is the level of people who are going to be involved. Dan mentioned a bunch of names. Those people are ready, willing, and able, and excited to help you pursue your dream, to help you launch a career that so many of us have had the great opportunity to launch. So you're going to be learning from industry people who've excelled for decades, and they're going to share their wisdom and their stories and their ups and downs. My own story is very similar to many. My first year out of college, I worked for free for a year, right? My parents paid my rent because they understood it was my graduate school, because this is what I wanted to do. Then I had a great 25-year run, and then I found myself out of work. So I've seen the highs and lows, and everybody involved in this program has seen the highs and lows. So we're going to prepare you for what this industry is, the kind of things to expect, and you're going to hear it. My mantra has been, you're going to hear it from people who've been in the field, in the newsroom, in the control room for the last 20 years, not in the classroom. You're going to hear from people who've been living this life.
Yeah, and your career in many ways started in Orlando, right? So
Yes.
even though you were in Connecticut for 25 years, you were a Rollins grad, and you worked at
WESH.
Yep. in Orlando, which is the NBC affiliate now in Orlando. What is different now than has been 10, 20, 25 years ago for what students need to know to be successful in this industry?
Well, there's more opportunities now. When I wanted to be on air, like 95% of the people who come into this business, you had TV and radio, right? And so when I was at WESH, I thought I was going to be an on-air person. And then instead of hiring me, they hired Stuart Scott for some reason. So I had a choice. Later, a few years after Stuart came and left, I could continue to pursue my on-air career, or I could go to ESPN as a producer. So I chose that path. But TV or radio was pretty much it. Now we're all broadcasters. I can take my phone out right now and be on Facebook Live or Twitter Live or whatever. So there's just more opportunities, whether it's podcast, esports, Twitch, YouTube, all these things. Not everybody wants to be a weekend anchor somewhere. Some people are going to want to carve out their own niche in all those different areas. So while some people think the industry is shrinking, I think it's just the opposite. I think there's just more places to do it. And we understand that, and we'll be prepared for that. And we'll through vocal training, expert analysis on how to be a host on the set, the art of the interview, all those things we're going to coach you up on and get you ready.
You've now been with us officially for a couple of months. What are your impressions of the university? You've had the opportunity to interact with our faculty, with some of our students who aren't obviously in our program yet, but...
Yeah, I said on Twitter when the article came out on Monday, and some people missed the irony, but this is a dream job that I never could have dreamt of. When I left ESPN, in my head, I was trying to think of things that I could do next, but the opportunity to take what I was doing, which I was my own individual talent coach, and expand it on such a grand scale with such a great school is really beyond my dreams. And it's been 4 weeks, and everybody's been amazing. I already feel like I fit right in, and everybody's been incredibly supportive. There hasn't been one person who's said, yeah, I don't think we can, everybody said, how can I help? Yeah. And sportscasting in particular, and other jobs too, but it's passion and creativity are what drive you. If you don't have those two things, you really, I don't think, can be a successful sportscaster. And those are cornerstones of Full Sail success, passion and creativity. It's everywhere on that campus. So it's really exciting for me to be in a place where everybody feels that way. And the other thing I really love about it is it's a focused environment, right? So people who are going to be in the sportscasting school are there because they love the idea of being a sportscaster. You and I could go to University X, you could be a math major, I could be an English major. We're not necessarily all in it together. Whatever program you're in at Full Sail, you're in it because you love it. And so there's this great passion on campus for everybody to help everybody succeed. And I think that's going to be a big part of what we do.
I want to clear one thing up. I could not be a math major anywhere. Let's just get that out of the way. But last thought about this. If this is, you're not just somebody who's coming, and I think it's clear in your language that is just looking at the next opportunity. This is a role that you had at ESPN. Everybody that I've met who knew you said that Gus Ramsey was the guy who was the mentor for all of our rising talent. So where does that come from, and why is that important to you?
Well, my father's a career educator. He taught for close to 50 years. Sorry if I got that wrong, Dad. And he was a coach.
Yeah.
So I grew up in that environment. I think it's kind of always been instilled in me. And one thing that I've learned when I started my own talent coaching business is there's no feedback given in this industry, whether it was at ESPN or places I talked to afterwards or when I started working with my own clients. What kind of feedback do you get? 9 out of 10 people, the answer was not much. Well, we all want to learn. We all want to be coached and get better at our jobs. So the fact that it's not being given and there was an opportunity, that really opened my eyes to how can I help other people be better at what they love to do. And the teaching has just kind of come out of me more and more over time. And frankly, I'm at a place in my life now where I did 25 years in television production. I got my doctorate in that. I would very much like to help people get their bachelors now in sportscasting.
Well, that's great. We're so thrilled and fortunate to have you.
Thank you.
And we're we're just excited about all the things that are next, Gus.
Thank you, me
All right,
too.
thank you for being here. You can go ahead and somewhere.
Exit stage left.
Yeah, I won't exactly look clean. That's fine. I should also add that even though Gus and Dan and Gary have talked a lot about people being from ESPN, we're having guest faculty that will come from all kinds of places, right? Bill Simmons has his own company and podcast and website with The Ringer. We have people who are already signed on to be involved from Fox Sports and from NBC Sports. So it's going to be a diverse platform of people coming to contribute to this degree. One of the big reasons for that is our other partner in this, which is Dan's agency, Playbook Incorporated, and Reed Bergman. Reed is here. Reed, were we able to get you mic'd up? We had a little issue with that before. He is mic'd up? Well, then come on up. I want you to meet our good friend in this, really the man who is responsible for introducing Dan to all of us and helping us build this program with Dan and with Gus. And come on, don't be shy. He's not the slightest bit shy.
Not part of my DNA.
But you know, this started almost 2 years ago when you came to campus and we met for the first time. How does it feel really to be at this moment where we're launching this and the reaction that you saw Dan have last night?
One word, vindicated. Because it was, as you know, it was a process.
Yeah.
It was, while it was fun, and we kept it fun, you know, there were challenges along the way, but we always, I guess they say it's not how you drive necessarily, it's how you arrive, and we have arrived, so.
With all kinds of good people, as are we. You know, obviously we've done this together for Dan, right? I mean, that's where it started. But we have a lot of resources that Playbook is going to bring to this as well going forward.
Absolutely. So, you know, ideally, it's about the students. It's always been about the students. It's been about the students for Dan. It's been about the students for you at Full Sail. It's certainly for us. We want to see people maximize their potential. And we believe this industry has a great deal of bandwidth that's still untapped. And who better to learn from, as I like to kind of envision, if you wanted to learn to paint, why not learn to paint from Van Gogh?
Right.
Why not learn to paint from the Impressionists? So I think as you see this, you know, ecosystem evolve, and the opportunities that will come from it, not just on camera for students, but certainly in other areas of the broadcast world, because not everybody's meant to be on camera.
Right.
I think we're going to highlight the opportunities, and ultimately it's really about placement, making sure that our students are game ready, right?
Yeah.
That they buckle their chin straps and are ready to hit the workforce.
Yeah. And you've been in this business a long time. Do you share Gus's feeling that it is opening? Because there's some publicity that it feels like it's shrinking, but modern technology seems to also provide us with a lot more opportunity.
Well, if Gus says something, it's generally gospel. So yes, there's not a finer expert in the industry, and we're beyond privileged to have Gus. Not only do I believe that's correct, but if you also look at the multitudes of major conglomerate brands, the Amazons, the Apples, the Facebooks that are all getting into the content development business and now focusing on sports, I think there is not just buried treasure, but I think this is a new frontier.
Yeah.
And I think it's super exciting to be on the cusp.
Well, we're excited to be doing this with you. Your perspectives are going to be so important as we go forward, and it's been so much fun building this with you. So
I'm just the suit. I'm just here to try to do what I can to bring resources.
Well, you have. We continue well. Thank you, bud. Appreciate it. Nice to see you. Reed Bergman from Playbook Incorporated and his whole team. So let's now bring Dan and Gus back up here. As Tracy, I'm going to give you the opportunity to give us some questions that the audience has been pumping your way as they come back up. We're going to stand and do this. So I'm going to stand on this side. You come in. Dan, you're the center. Come in the middle here.
Make sure you get Dan's good.
And so Tracy, fire away with question one, and then I'll repeat it for these guys.
You guys are so overdressed, by the way.
Excellent. Thank you, Josh. Well, the first
You're
question
just like the
is,
producer.
Yes, I am.
these guys are having too much fun. What is the difference between this and a broadcasting degree?
Okay, Tracy's question is, we've called this the Dan Petra School of Sportscasting. We have intentionally left off sports broadcasting. Why have we done that?
I would say that I don't want people to think that there are parts of this course that we're not going to get into. Like play-by-play is not something we're diving heavily into. It's focused more on being a studio host and anchor and working on Twitch and some of those outlets. So it's really, I think, to narrow the focus, but understanding that there are elements of all these things. Like if you came to our program and you studied for 20 months, you're going to walk away a better broadcaster, and that in turn a better play-by-play guy. But it's a really huge field, And there's only so much that we can actually do, so I think we're trying to narrow the focus a little bit.
And it's really, Dan, about some of the new platforms that are out there too, right?
Yeah, because it's ever evolving, and we want to make sure that we understand what is the next area that we need to, the resources that are there. How do we prepare you to get to that? And we keep coming back to podcasts and how important they are. Even when I was on campus a couple of weeks ago, I had a student say, "How do you do a podcast? I'd like to do a podcast." I said, "Well, what are you going to do with the podcast? You have to have direction. What makes you different? What's unique about your podcast?" So there's all these different aspects that you have to look at and say, okay, how do we fill that void? And not going, hey, you're just going to be on the local news or you want to be on ESPN. This is such a wide prism that we're looking at, that we're putting you in, but we just want to make sure that we're not overlooking something or dismissing something because it's not in now.
Yeah. Tracy, next question.
Josh, actually, on that same note, he talked about a podcast a little bit. How do podcasts, YouTube, VR, and other evolving media play a part in this?
So Tracy's asking us from the student perspective to expand on that. How do podcasts, VR, all the new platforms, Amazon, YouTube, how does it change the industry and how does it factor into the program?
I don't know how it's changing right now. We're seeing it. It's changing right in front of us. Yeah. But it's getting the right people on campus to help us together as we do this. Because it's not where you go, oh, that's what it is. By the time 6 months from now, what we think it is now is going to be different. And I think that's where I said that it's different with Full Sail. We have the ability to adapt, whereas a college curriculum on a regular campus would never be able to do this. If we see it changing in 6 months, 3 months, we can change it. Because Gus will say, let's go in this direction for this because we think it's going to be important. That's what's fun about this. Yeah. You wouldn't be able to do this on a regular campus.
I love that you mentioned VR because that's something we haven't talked about yet.
Right.
But Full Sail's got a great virtual reality program. So we're going to get to the point where we can put virtual reality on a guy's head and he's standing in the middle of Wrigley Field, right? And he can simulate doing an after or post-game interview on Wrigley Field instead of just in a studio. So we can't fly you all around the country to different locations, but we can put you in those situations to make them feel as real as possible, which is an amazing opportunity.
And I can't say enough about VR because there's such a future there, and to be involved in that. And I said when I first paid a visit on campus, the one thing I took away was VR. I was so impressed with what they were doing, how they were doing it. Now, how do we incorporate that? Can I do VR where I'm going to let you be an umpire? I'm going to let you understand exactly what this is like. I'm going to let you be a backfield judge in an NFL game, trying to understand what interference is. As Gus said, we're going to put you in a live shot at the World Cup. Now, let's see how you do. We'll give you atmosphere there. You bring in crowd noise. Those kind of things, once again, I'm proud that Full Sail looks at this, has the resources, and is willing to let us play with those tools.
Yeah, and even at a more basic level, I was in Boston about 6 weeks ago, and the Red Sox and Blue Jays had a series, and NESN, the New England Sports Network, did the entire series in VR, and the broadcast didn't quite match it in terms of what you were seeing and what they were talking about, and so that's another thing that we can develop. Tracy, one final question maybe?
All right. Well, esports is becoming a huge market. Does that fit into this program as well?
Yeah, where does esports fit into all of this?
I think it's a huge part of it. I've worked with the people at Activision for the last 6 months or so, and I have a good relationship with them, and that industry is booming. And Dan and I talked about that very early in this process. We're not going to get people who just want to work in traditional major league sports. Esports is taking off. We're ready to be involved with it. We have good video game programs at the school already. But again, it goes back to the basics. Like whether you're doing esports or turning on your phone and broadcasting, there are fundamentals that you need to be able to execute to be a good broadcaster. So no matter what platform you're on, we're going to give you the skill set to be good at it.
Yeah. Have you seen that in the feedback you get from your radio show and your TV show? People starting to talk about esports, or even amongst the people in the industry?
It's not that's the kind of feedback, but from my son, who's 25, I get that, and you see what it means, and the audiences that you get. At Staples Center, they can fill Staples Center when they have these tournaments there. Once again, we're not dismissing anything. I think you have to open your eyes and say, we don't have blinders on. We're going to adapt as the world adapts. And Gus brings up the great point. We want to give you the foundation to just be a good broadcaster. Right. If you're a good broadcast, it's like a good salesman. You may sell a car 1 year, and in 5 years you're selling computers. Are you a good salesman? That's what we're trying to make you, is a good broadcaster. The adaptability that you'll have to go into these different fields, that's what'll be the challenge for you.
Right, the new platform
Yes.
for new sports as they come up. All right, Tracy, we have time for one more.
Okay, Josh, so quick question. Which sports would the student be able to cover in this degree program?
Which sports will the students be able to cover in this degree program?
Yes.
Is the question. It's
Well, there's really no limit.
Yeah.
I was asked recently by someone on campus, if we get online students who aren't in America, do we make them talk about baseball? No, like, we'll set up a curriculum where they can do things with the sports that they're familiar with. And they'll be graded much more on how they say something than what they say necessarily. And I'm not going to expect all of our teachers to know the ins and outs of cricket. And I won't expect if we have European students, to know the ins and outs of Major League Baseball. But it'll boil down to the nuts and bolts, but we'll make it very pliable so that we cover everything.
Yeah, you can't, once again, it goes back to, we can do whatever we want. Like, we can.
Yeah, we can.
I mean,
we will.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the heck with management. We're going to do whatever we want. Who's with me? Come on. But that's...
We're back at the ESPN.
Yeah, right. No. Yeah. But that's what I love about this, is we are creating it.
Yeah.
And we'll define it, and we'll maneuver. We'll decide to add and subtract.
Yeah.
So we're not ruling out anything. But we want to make sure we're headed in the right direction to help you better yourself to get a job.
Yeah.
That's really the bottom. That's at the core curriculum.
Yeah, well, it's really exciting to be on the verge of this. It launches, the program does, with our February start on January 29th. Gus Ramsey is a permanent fixture on our campus now. Dan's going to be down several times a year. Guys, congratulations on getting this done. We're thrilled to have you aboard.
By the way, you students, you're lucky to have Josh and Gary. No, I'm supposed to say this. It's written there right on their notebook.
Here, read it.
You're very lucky to have Josh and Gary on campus. They are incredible, and Gary's wife, Isis, is very beautiful.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
now you've said something true, Elise. So,
there you go.
Doesn't he fit right in?
Yeah.
So, guys, we're so excited to be bringing this to you and having this as a part of our community at Full Sail. We're going to take one more look at the video so you can see what it's all about, and we'll see you back on campus. And Dan will see you.
Thank you.
Coming up soon. Thanks, guys.
I can't tell you how many times in my career somebody will ask me, how do I get into your business? How do I become a sportscaster? The first thing I ask is, what have you done? Do you have any experience? And the answer is normally nothing yet. It's because they couldn't find a program that provided the real-world experience that you need to get started. So I set out to create a program designed for the next wave of sportscasting talent. And my partner was an obvious one, Full Sail University. Great track record in entertainment and media, great alumni group, and the ability to evolve as the industry changes. We're offering a bachelor's degree that combines the professional expertise that my fellow sportscasters and I have built our careers on with the technologies shaping the world of sports. To succeed in this business, you have to be ready for what's next. But the core of great sportscasting I don't think will ever change, and this program brings it all together.